Okay, I'll start it off. I'm a partner with RPI, probably a familiar face to some of you. I kind of help support a lot of aspects of our organization, mainly on the back end. And I'll just be doing a quick about RPI in a little bit after we get our introductions done here. Joe?
Thank you, Greg. I'm Joe Hoover. I'm the National Director of the Lawson practice. I have over 25 years of ERP implementation experience with Lawson. I've helped cities and counties implement ERP. In addition to 3 statewide implementations, I've been involved in a lot of things within the Lawson public sector space. I'll pass it on to Richard.
Hi, Richard Leigh Stout. I'm a partner with RPI. Over the past few years, I've taken a leadership role over our technical services practice, as well as helped our customers move forward with cutting-edge Infor Technology, and been involved in Cloud Suite implementations on the HCM and FSM side.
Perfect, and I'm the guy that didn't introduce himself at the beginning of the webinar. My name is Bill Getty. I'm the VP of Sales and Marketing for RPI Consultants. Been in the space for about 20 years. Probably several of you have seen my face before. I'm here to kind of push this along and to help make this webinar series happen over the next 10 days.
Excellent, thanks, Bill. And yeah, I know you're often short on words, so that's probably why you couldn't think of introducing yourself. So we'll see some of that later. Oh, and we have an animation here. So there is a bobblehead.
Who's that?
Image.
Oh, that's the bobblehead.
Yeah, exactly. Some of you might have been lucky recipients of those at Inforum. So just quickly, this is our agenda that we're going to run through. This is going to be fairly quick, not super in-depth on too many things here, give you an overview. I won't walk through this in detail. We'll jump right into it. Of course, we do need to just say a little bit about RPI. Many of you, again, probably know of us, have worked with us, and we are an alliance partner of Infor's. We are Cloud Suite specialized. We've been on the cutting edge of many of the new technologies. We had a large presence at Inforum. Many of you, again, might have seen us there. We bring a large team because we want our customers to interact with as many people as possible, get some questions answered, get a picture of the whole team. Overall, in our practice, we have over 90 consultants. We do service the full Infor Lawson market. All functional areas, technical, and many other specialties as well. You probably have seen some of our other webinars, perhaps. We are a recognized thought leader in the space. We do kind of push the envelope and get ahead of some things to try to have that dialogue with our customers. And we present at user groups and community events and so forth. We are obviously very deeply invested in this community, in you, and you will hopefully see much more of that this week and next week with all of our webinars. I won't go through these in detail. There's a few slides here just so you have the links in the PowerPoint document when you get them. There's an About RPI if you haven't seen that, and there's a couple of, one customer testimonial that we have from Atlanta Public Schools, the CHRO there Sky was kind enough to join us last round of webinars, and then we also have Todd Stratton from Infor on product management side that has done a couple webinars with us as well, and talks a little bit about, I believe, the culture at RPI and so forth. So here's the last kind of overview slide, and then we'll get into the meat of it. RPI in the public sector, we've been servicing our public sector customers for quite some time, but we're putting a new focus on it because we do see that the solution set is a great fit for expanding in the public sector. We are aligned with Infor's public sector management team, so we are keeping up with the direction and the trends there. And we are advocates of the new technology and all the flexibility that does provide for all customers, but specifically in the public sector. And really what we're going to get into here next, and I'll hand it over to Joe, is to provide some high-level insights into the market trends from some of our surveys that we've done. Here you go, Joe.
Thank you, Greg. As you can see here, we have produced surveys. We've issued a survey, and this was done before the Inform 2018. We had close to 600 respondents from 300 different organizations. Within that sample size, within that respondent group, 24% of those were directly related to public sector. And within the public sector arena, our respondents were many different types of folks, of which 32% were directors or above, and 68% were managers above. And what you'll see here is that we've got, there's a large amount of folks that were part of that survey. And what we're going to do now is share with you the information related to that survey. Of the top 5 relevant questions that were asked, one of them was, do you have a strategic roadmap with ERP? And as you can see here, 41% of the respondents said they did not. And that's a really important component here to think about, because as you move forward with your Infor public sector investment, there needs to be a strategic roadmap that helps your organization plot the next activities related to the Infor deployment. So that's something to think about there. On our next slide, we talk about the question related to how are you positioned to make a move to the GHR Infor Cloud Suite. And as you can see here, a majority of the folks have kind of made that commitment, but you have about 28% of them, of those that surveyed, that needed some help in terms of figuring out the plan to move to the Infor Cloud Suite HCM. So that's one of the important data points in our market trends. As it relates to the financial supply chain management suite, as you can see here, folks are making progress into moving in that direction. However, we have about 17% of the respondents who are still in need of help in trying to plan that out. And one of the things that we here at RPI offer is this additional assistance in helping you get there. The next slide I want to present is moving to the entire Infor Cloud Suite application. That's a FSM, HCM, and version 11. As you can see here, there's 27% of respondents who have not thought about that quite yet, and that again plays into the strategic roadmap. We feel it's very important that the public sector community, the public sector organizations get better prepared in an overall strategic roadmap in helping themselves move to the latest features and capabilities of the Infor product. And on our final question here, what Infor public sector is thinking about the ERP cloud. As you can see here, there's a majority of the respondents who haven't considered moving to the cloud yet. And the cloud is a very important aspect of the evolution of the Infor product, and we have Richard here that will be talking more about that shortly. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Richard.
Thanks,
I just
Joe.
throw out a couple of comments about the survey, and one is the survey was done by a diversity of people, leaders and users, doers. So it's not just lopsided on one side. Good representation across the Infor marketplace. Another is I think one of the trends in the comments that I saw in the survey were that a lot of people just didn't have the information they needed to move forward. And so that is kind of the genesis of why we do these webinar series. And then lastly is there's a lot of things on everybody's plate. They're trying to figure out how to fit it all into a puzzle to make it work. And again, that's a process that needs to happen. So I think my closing comment on the survey is, if you're not there yet, if you haven't considered the cloud, or if you're not ready to move to version 11, you're not alone. There's a lot more people just like you out there. And so there's a community of effort to help you get there. And we're there to help you touch that community.
Right. Over the next couple of years, we'll see Infor's mainstream public sector offering transition from Lawson to Cloud Suite Public Sector. And that's really a once-in-a-generation opportunity to rethink some of the core structural decisions that were made when Lawson was implemented and build out a software platform for the next 10 or 20 years. We're at a critical juncture, and to help navigate that change, RPI Consultants is investing in our community, offering a lot of information. We'll talk about a couple of upcoming webinars on Thursday where we're going to dive in to some Cloud Suite specific topics. And we're meeting with our customers now and helping educate them on what's available in Cloud Suite, how it could be a good fit for their organizations, and what's the path to getting there. So we're happy to help you build out your application roadmap. It's important to be the agent of change and not just let change happen to you, because one thing we can say for sure is staying on Lawson indefinitely is not what we consider a plan or a roadmap for the future. So one of the first steps in moving forward and figuring out where to go next as Lawson 10 reaches maturity and we look forward to the next systems that we can put in place. One of the next steps is to make a business case for Infor Cloud Suite and see if Cloud Suite Public Sector is the best fit, not just potentially for upgrading from Lawson, but maybe even replacing point solutions, consolidating functionality. Cloud Suite offers a lot more functionality than the previous generation of the solution, and could potentially reduce the overall number of applications in your portfolio. Moving to the cloud can offer a reduction in cost of ownership of the system. Our platform of the future improves visibility of data, which we noted during our survey was a key driver for our clients. And we're talking not only operational and regulatory reporting, but strategic, forward-looking projections. It's a process-driven solution, which means that the application is crafted around helping our users complete business processes rather than being a passive database that leaves processes up to the users and the businesses to understand and complete on their own. And it's an application that's available where we want it, on mobile devices, when we need it, and it's intuitive and it works well for the modern workforce.
So Greg said I'm never short of words, and I'm gonna live up to that right now. But I'll tell you that one of the intangible things in the business case that I think is important for people to understand is you're not starting from scratch. You've built on a 10, 15, 20 year history, sometimes 30 years history with your current software vendor, continuing to improve it, understand it, build relationships. So it's not like going out to a new software company and having to say, well, who's the person in charge? Who's this person here? There's a comfort zone to it. That doesn't mean there's not a lot of change, but there's an opportunity to take advantage of what you've invested your time and energy over your career and your life, and take it to the next level, maybe for the next generation, for the next series of employees. So I think that's really important to note.
I totally agree, Bill, because moving to Cloud Suite could be characterized as an upgrade or could be characterized as a migration, but it's clearly an easier path than implementing a whole new system.
Exactly. Yep. Well said.
So we'll talk more about making a business case for Cloud Suite on Thursday, partnering with Keith Whalen to dive into that, and that'll be at 1 o'clock Eastern. Let's talk a bit about cloud. Joe and I were talking about this earlier. It's a big consideration, particularly with public sector clients, to move to the cloud or stay on-prem. There's not just the idea of another organization hosting your data, but it's moving to a multi-tenant architecture. And there are a lot of changes there with how, as a client, you manage your applications, particularly when it comes to system updates. And there are a lot of different factors that could go into a value analysis of cloud versus on-prem. There's a licensing difference between perpetual and SaaS licensing. There's the responsibility of hosting that infrastructure, and along with that, maintaining the security of the overall system and the responsibility for the uptime. And then, of course, how updates get applied in a more rapid release fashion with a multi-tenant architecture versus when you're on-prem, you would probably stick with a more traditional large upgrade cycle.
And Richard, to your point, we at RPI we have 2 clients that are a half a mile apart from each
half
other.
mile apart.
One a city, one a county, and one of them is on premise, and the other one has decided to go to the cloud. So
Both
they're
Cloud Suite version 11.
both Cloud Suite
HCM,
version
yeah.
11. So they're
Kind of interesting.
yeah. So there really is not a definitive answer right now. It depends on the organization's direction and capabilities.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, Mr. Wayland and I will be diving into that Thursday at 3 o'clock Eastern, and always happy to have one-on-one follow-up conversations if anyone's interested in continuing this conversation. So here we've got an example, or I guess a high-level framework of where we see the market moving and where we see the majority of our customers being in the life cycle at this point. So right now, it's very important to understand more about Cloud Suite. What we found is that while there's been a lot of knowledge and information that's penetrated within IT organizations, our business leaders at our clients are probably less up to date on really what Cloud Suite can offer to them. So we think it's really important to socialize that knowledge and for our IT leaders to be our change agents and help socialize that information. With the recent lull in Lawson upgrades over the past couple of years, right? There was a big upgrade cycle that just ended with moving to Lawson 10. This has presented an opportunity for our clients to stabilize and optimize the systems they have in place. And there's a lot of value to looking at that now as a step to prepare for moving forward to Cloud Suite. It's not wasted effort to go and look at your business processes and dive into things like customizations and start cataloging that and making sense of how these different things will move forward.
And just to clarify, I believe I know, and maybe many people do, by Cloud Suite, you're not just talking about knowing your options as far as moving to the cloud. You're talking about the product Cloud Suite, right? So
yeah,
I'm sorry if
absolutely.
that's obvious for most of you, but I just want to clarify.
Yeah,
there.
it's a branding thing, and the brand name is Cloud Suite.
Yes.
And
Okay.
it can be
the
deployed
new version of the products.
on-prem. It can be deployed in the cloud. Probably the optimal solution is the cloud, because you're going to get the latest and greatest all the time. But there are on-prem options, which a lot of vendors don't offer. So that you just have to be prepared to support it.
Yeah, absolutely. And then looking forward over the next couple of years, we see a lot of interest in phased rollouts. With Lawson, we have 3 suites all together, finance, supply, and HR payroll. With version 11, HR and payroll switch to their own, what you might consider a suite, versus finance and supply. And with the HR side having a little bit more market maturity, we see quicker adoption of Cloud Suite HCM at this point, or Global HR at this point. And then a lot of our clients are planning to quickly follow that with an implementation of Cloud Suite Financials and really capitalize on the analytics offerings there to roll out a more powerful analytics solution across the whole solution at the conclusion of Cloud Suite Financials implementation.
Yep. So I had one comment I would make about that, and that is, we're not big advocates of the Big Bang implementation. We can do it. We absolutely have done it in the past. We see most clients struggle with it, I think. A more phased approach, one success at a time, building on that success one after another, really gives an organization the confidence. That's kind of like when you talk about business process optimization now before you start to upgrade. Get those wins, get those departments really enjoying and liking the application, getting the functionality that they need so that they're change agents for you in the future as you begin to explore the new application. So obviously we could do a big bang if you can handle it. But I think most organizations like a more phased approach. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the tools that we have available to you that you can take advantage of. They're absolutely free. They're on the web. They're out there now. I was actually astounded when my marketing team told me the other day that we're over 250 webinars recorded up on YouTube. I think we've taken some down and cleaned them up a little bit, so the number may fluctuate a lot, but 250 webinars about any topic, that's amazing to me. I think it shows a tremendous commitment to the Infor Lawson market. They're available out on YouTube. Some organizations have trouble with YouTube, so we also have them out on Vimeo. We just need to provide you those links, or you can see them on Digital Concourse, Work Out Loud. They're also on our website, so they're in a couple of different platforms. Just in June, we talked about Sky Duckett, CHRO, Atlanta Public Schools. She came in and did a great webinar with Richard. In June, we did 31 webinars over the course of 5 days. During this next 10-day period, 10-day period, we're going to do 34, possibly 36. We've got a couple additional webinars around imaging content, content management with our imaging team. So those are special. They're on Wednesday, by the way. And again, highlight the special guest. This is a tremendous commitment by Infor to send their head of HCM product management to Baltimore, Maryland to sit with us live and do 2 webinars about topics that everybody's talking about. And that's the next evolution of HCM and where payroll is headed, next gen payroll. So I'm really excited about having Amy in our office next week. I did a quick study for the public sector group recently, and we gave them some statistics. Since 2016, we've had 15,000 participants in our webinars. That to me is outstanding. That doesn't even include the viewers. I'm just talking about the people that registered, attended webinars. So we have a bunch of different topics. Sometimes we'll repeat a topic because there's an update that needs to be had, or maybe we couldn't cover enough. So you will see several that are similar in title, but they have different content. So we update them regularly, particularly the very popular topics. Some of the webinars are 15 minutes, some of them are 30, some of them are full hour.
And some of them have Bill in them, so they go.
Several of them have me in them, and they run 75 or 90 minutes. So, yeah, thanks, Richard. And then there's playlists out there. We can build playlists. Good information. There's something for every role, is my point.
Bill, before you move on, the 250 webinars, right? Some of them cover back to version 10, right? We talked earlier about optimizing your current systems and functionality.
Oh, absolutely.
You can go back to that library of webinars and pick out those areas that you may want to add functionality to or improve your current system. So that's something I wanted to point out.
Yes, we've been doing this since Lawson was version 9 and my hairline was down here.
Yeah. All right. So this is a very complicated schedule, and this is just to demonstrate how many webinars we're doing over the next 10 days. We've highlighted 5 I've mentioned them before. Top 11 things about version 11. That's at 11 o'clock on Thursday. 1 o'clock on Thursday is the business case for version 11 Cloud Suite. 3 o'clock this Thursday is to cloud or not to cloud. That's the whole discussion about the cloud that Richard and Keith. Those 3 webinars are going to be done by Keith Whalen, our managing partner, and Richard Stout, our technology partner. So very, very strong commitment there. And then the other 2 I highlight, I just wanted to mention again, were the 2 next Thursday, which are at 1 p.m. and 3 p.m. on Thursday. And those are about the HCM evolution and the payroll progress. So I think you'll see some great information published there, and welcome you to attend. All right. Want to talk a little bit about something new we're going to do specific to public sector. So this is actually one of our first webinars that we've done that is vertical specific to the public sector market. So with the onboarding of Joe joining the organization, we wanted to put some tools in your hands. We've got these 250 webinars that show your doers what they need to do, and it's regardless of vertical, really. But then we're going to put some webinars together that talk about vertical specific topics to the public sector. So this is a series. We're going to talk about Cloud Suite. We're going to talk about the cloud. We're going to do a session on K through 12. We're going to do a session on local government, and all sorts of things. We're going to talk about security, technology in the cloud, financials in public sector, HCM in public sector, and so on. So this will be published in the near term. You can look for that to be run between January and June, which is our next webinar series for the summer. So here's some closing thoughts. We're getting ready to wrap this up. We've got 2 slides left. Joe?
Sure. On the closing thoughts, what we strongly recommend, and you've kind of seen it through the whole webinar here, is that we offer the ability to get educated on what the cloud represents, what Cloud Suite represents, things that you can do to get ready to move forward with Cloud Suite application. And what we'd like to also do is, provide you the ability through these webinars and other items to have the opportunity to get ready from that perspective. We have, and finally, if you don't have a roadmap, we strongly recommend you get one. We can help you develop the roadmap. The roadmap Lawson Infor, and moving forward with Lawson Infor needs to be part of that roadmap. And with that, I want to pass it back to Bill on the upcoming webinars.
Absolutely. So a couple of things I would mention that are out there in the future. Infor is hosting a winter showcase in January, the 29th through the 31st. It is a great opportunity to see all their products. They do it in St. Paul. It's a little chilly. It's sponsored by the partner community. There's no charge to it. Got to get travel and hotel and things like that. But I would that enrollment is still available. It's out on the Infor communities or in Work Out Loud. I'd encourage you to attend if you can. Plan to watch our webinar series, as we're going to do with public sector, and this webinar series we're doing over the next week. If you don't have a relationship with your Infor AE, you need to build one, because these changes is critical. Your AE is a critical piece of the puzzle, and they can do wonders for you. But if you don't know who it is, you're not going to be able to leverage the best talent you can. If you don't know who that is, let us know. We'll get you hooked up. And get involved in the Infor community. I would tell you, get on the systems, get in the Infor communities, get on Work Out Loud. The community is only as good as we make it, each of us. We try to contribute our part to it.